I don't know if you've been watching some of the Olympic coverage, but you may have seen some of the adverts that come on the BBC. And one of them, which I just saw yesterday, is an advert for a series on BBC 4 about American foreign politics. And it begins with this quote of someone saying, "In the world, you can either have peace or justice." That's what he says. You can either have peace or justice. And he's applying it to these foreign policy situations. You know, you leave some dictator in power, there's no justice, but there's peace. You overturn that dictator, you get justice, he pays for his crimes, but there's chaos. You can either have peace or justice. And it feels, it's perhaps a bit of a cynical way of putting it, but it feels that there's always this trade-off. The justice, the judge here just goes for peace. He doesn't care about justice. But God cares about both, doesn't he? He cares about peace on earth, and he cares about justice. And it feels impossible sometimes for us to marry these things up, and so we end up in these compromise situations. So this woman is coming and saying, "Grant me justice," and the judge does not care. She comes with a very reasonable request. I don't know if you've seen a film that came out a few years ago called 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Has anyone seen that film? It's a very good film. It's a very shocking film, actually, if you've watched it. But it's the story of this woman in America whose daughter has been abused and murdered, and the police department just don't care. They don't investigate it. And so what she does, she's angry, she's bitter, she's frustrated. She hires 3 billboards on the way into the town, and she puts up these phrases: "Raped whilst dying," "Still no arrests," "What's going on, Judge Willoughby?" Puts these things as you drive into the town, you see these billboards. And it's a fantastic film, actually, about how that all plays out and her desire for justice and what eventually ends up happening. But this desire for justice, for right things to be done, is something we should feel as Christians. We should burn that there's justice on earth. We should be ready to challenge and ready to ask, and we should be bringing these requests to our Heavenly Father, as this woman does to this judge who couldn't care less. We should care about the way our world functions. There's nothing wrong with what the woman is asking here, and yet the answer she gets is no for a very long time. A reasonable request. The second thing I want to show you is, and I use the term cautiously here, an annoying woman. This is what the judge would be thinking, right? You saw the video there of that Australian video. This is a really annoying woman who just won't go away. I was speaking on this to a kids camp last year on this parable, and I got someone in the audience to keep phoning me. I had my volume turned up to loud, so they didn't realise I was around. I kept trying to give the talk, and then my phone would go, and I pretended it was someone at work, and I kept saying, "Look, just go away, I'll sort this out later." And they kept ringing me and kept ringing, and finally I said, "Look, just go away, I'll sort it out now." But you get the point. If you're from the judge's perspective, this is just an irritation. It's an irritation in his life. And this woman is really annoying and becomes more and more annoying as the parable goes on. Finally, she's answered. Even more than annoying, she becomes threatening, doesn't he? Eventually this woman will wear me out, he says. Eventually she'll come and attack me. A question for you. Are you annoying to God? Is God annoyed with you? Do you keep bothering God? Or is God rarely troubled by you? You rarely give him much reason to be annoyed. Now obviously God is not annoyed by us, and I need to say that really carefully. I use the word advisedly. But do you bother God? People sometimes say that about Christians, don't they? They say they're God botherers. But I worry about myself that I don't bother God nearly as much as I should.